Hello, welcome to the first lesson on our new topic, BODMAS. So, some of you will have heard of BODMAS before, some of you maybe have vaguely heard of it and maybe can't remember what the letters stand for, and some of you will be fairly confident. So, what we're going to do is we're going to work our way through where BODMAS comes from, why we need it, and here are our learning outcomes. If we have a look at these. First of all, I understand what is meant by the word operation. Now, that's the special mathematical meaning of the word operation. I understand that the order of operations matters. I know what the letters in BODMAS stand for, and I can use BODMAS to calculate correctly. Now, we're actually going to get through all of those in this lesson, and then in the next lesson, we're just going to go on and do more tricky calculations. So, first of all, let's have a think. What is the correct answer to these questions? If you want to pause the video for a moment and work these out, that would be a good idea. Let's have a look at the answers then. So, first one, I think we all know that 2 times 4 is 8, and there's no question about that. Now, the second one, 2 times 4 is 8, add 3 is 11. But what if we'd done things in a different order? What if we'd done the 4 add 3 first to get 7, and then done 2 times 7? Because that could mean that, couldn't it? 2 times 7. So that's 14, isn't it? But hold on a minute. There can't be 2 different answers to one question, can there? Let's look at the next one. 3 times 2 is 5, times 4 is 20. But let's look at it working a different way around. What if we did 3 add the answer to 2 times 4? That would be 3 add 2 times 4, which is 11. So both of these questions here I've got a 3 and an add and a 2 times 4. But so far, look, we've managed to come up with 3 different answers to that. So that's very strange, isn't it? Because normally in maths, there's a correct answer, and that's the one that we need to get. So having a look at the next one, 5 times 2 is 10. Add 3, that would make it 13. 13, and then times that by 4 would give us 52. Or we could do it, well, we could just add the 2 and the 3 together, couldn't we? First of all, we could do 5 times 4. That gives us 100, because that's 25 times 4. Or we could do, just a minute, we could do 5 times 2 and add that to 3 times 4. So that'd be 10, add 12, which is 22. And again, look, we've ended up with different answers to the same question. One more to think about. 5 add 2 is 7, times 3 is 21, add 4 is 25. But what if we'd done this bit first? What if we'd said 5 add 6, add 4? Well, that makes 15, and again, we've got different answers. Now, there is something that exists in maths that stops us having all these different answers and makes it clear that there is one correct answer to all of these questions. Now, before we look at that, we need to look at operation, the word operation and what we mean by it. So in maths, when we do something to numbers, the thing we do is called an operation. So for example, add, which we sometimes call plus, and we write like that, is called an operation. What are the other operations you can think of? You can pause the video for a minute whilst you think about those. So most of you have probably come up with take away or subtract, times or multiply, and divide. Okay, so the 4 basic operations are add, subtract, multiply and divide. We've got those here. Okay. There are some other operations that you might have come up with. For example, if we square a number. So for example, if we've got 5 squared, remember the little 2 there, which means 5 times 5. So this is called 5 squared, or 5 to the power of 2. Okay. There are other things like brackets that we come across as well. Okay. That's a square root. I'm not sure if you've seen that before. So we've got lots of different mathematical operations, and we're not going to cover them all here, but we do have a way of making sure we get the same answer every time to the question that we're asking. And it's part of accuracy in maths that we have got this order, because otherwise we could have 3 different people or 4 different people thinking that they're right with the answer to a question. And it can't be the 4 different things. There has to be a correct answer. So we need a way of making sure we get the correct answer to the question. We cannot have ambiguity. Now, this word ambiguity means it's not clear, okay? Ambiguity is where something is not certain. And we can't have that in maths. We've got to know for certain what the answer is. So we've got this mathemagic word here, BODMAS, where each letter stands for a mathematical operation. Okay, so think back to a minute ago. What have we looked at that begins with a B? That would be brackets. Oh, going to come back to that one. D for divide. M for multiply. A for add. And S for subtract. Now, what do you think that O stands for? Of. Okay. What we haven't covered here is percentages, fractions, that kind of thing. But if you've got a half of, or 25% of, or to the power of, like we looked at a minute ago, then we can see where the of comes in the calculation. So let's look again at the questions we did a minute ago, and we're going to use the order here. Brackets of divide, multiply, add, subtract. Basically, we can break this down a little bit further to say that we do our dividing and multiplying before we do our adding and subtracting. You can see in these pink questions here, we haven't got any brackets and we haven't got any ofs. So we're just going to make sure that our dividing and multiplying is done before we add and subtract. Okay, so the first one, there was no question with that one anyway. We knew that was 8. The second question, we can see we've got a multiply and we've got an add. So looking at BODMAS, the multiplying needs to happen before the adding. Okay, so what that means is we do the 2 times 4 first, which is 8, and then we add the 3, so we get 11. Okay, when we look at the next question, 3 add 2 times 4, again, we've got an add and we've got a multiply, but the multiply needs to happen before the add. So we do our multiplying first and then our adding. So when we do our multiplying, that means we've got to work out the 2 times 4 before we work out the 3 add. Okay, so what we're doing is 3 add, and then the 2 times 4 is 8. So, lo and behold, same answer as the last one, 11. Okay, the next one, 5 times 2, add 3 times 4. Again, we've got multiply and we've got add. So the multiplying needs to happen before the adding. So what that means is we've got to do the 5 times 2, which is 10. And we've got to do the 3 times 4, which is 12. And then we do our adding to give us 22. Okay, so when we looked back at what we got before. Remember, this one had several different answers to it, and the correct one was 22 when you do your multiplying before you're adding. And then the next one, there were a few different answers for this one when we did the different orders, but again, the multiplying needs to happen before the adding. So we do the 2 times 3 first, that's 6. So we've got 5, add 6, add 4, which makes 15. Okay, and do some more examples just now. Make sure we absolutely feel confident about the order of operations. Again, I'm just going to write BODMAS down here so we can remember. Okay, so the first one, we've got a multiply and we've got an add, but look, we've also got brackets. Now, B for brackets, that means we need to work this out before we do anything else. So it's going to be 5 times 6 for the bracket, 3 add 3, which is 30. Okay, so we do the brackets first. The value of the bracket is 6, and then we do 5 times that. So the next one. Remember, we do multiplying and dividing before we do adding and subtracting. So that means that this divide has to happen before the adding and subtracting. So 6 divided by 2 in the middle there is 3. So we've got 10, take away 3, add 5. So 10 take away 3 is 7, add 5 is 12. Okay. Once everything in your line is adding and subtracting, or multiplying and dividing, you just work left to right, because dividing and multiplying can happen at the same time, and adding and subtracting can happen at the same time, in the same line. Okay. Now, 3 I've highlighted because that's going beyond a step, because we've got a squared in there. So still we do bracket first, so that's 5. And then we've got to the power of 2, so that has to happen next. And then it'll be 12 add the answer to that. So it's 12 add 5 squared means 5 times 5, so that's 25. So that'll give us 37 when we do our adding. Now the next one. We've got a divide and we've got an add. So remember, the dividing has to happen before the adding. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. And then we can add 7 to get 11. The next one again. The multiplying has to happen before the subtracting. So 2 times 9 is 18. Take away 6 is 12. And then for the last one, remember the brackets have to be done before anything else. So the value of the bracket is 16, because it's 10 add 6. So we've got to do 30 take away 16 is 14. Okay, so we've done a few examples there. The most important thing to remember is that brackets need to be done first, and that dividing and multiplying has to happen before adding and subtracting. So you've got chance now to have a practice. There are a lot of questions here, and there are a lot more questions than these as well. So what I would like you to do is work through these. You can do some of them, you don't need to do all of them. I want you to do at least 12, please, and choose 12 quite different ones. Don't just choose ones that all look the same, okay? We need to make sure you can practice and get these correct. So pause the video, answer at least 12 of those, but if you're in class and waiting for other people to catch up, then you can do more than 12, okay? It will never harm you to do more maths. All right, so try those. So now we're going to check the answers. Well, you're going to check your answers using my answers. Okay, so there's all the answers there. These questions are all on your sheet, if you've got your sheets printed out. Okay, they're on the sheet that was called BODMAS Worksheet 1. Okay, so check those answers, pause the video, then we'll move on. Hey, goody, more questions. So if you were running out of questions to do, or if you were thinking, oh no, 27 questions was just not enough, then here we go. Try some more of these. So again, I would like you to do 10 at least of these. If you feel like you've got more time, you can do more than that, or if you're waiting for other people to catch up, then you can do them all if you want. Okay, and here come the answers. So again, pause the video, check all your answers, make sure you're correct. If there's anything that you're not sure about, remember and ask. Now, questions with brackets. We've just touched on this briefly, so we're going to do some more of this. So, BODMAS, again, keep remembering BODMAS. Brackets first, then of. Then you're dividing and multiplying, then you're adding and subtracting. Okay, so this first question here, we've got to do the bracket first. So the value of the bracket is 3 add 7, which we all know is 10. So what we're working out there is 4 times 10, nice and easy, 40. A little bit more complicated for the next one now. So the bracket has to be done first. So the value of the bracket is 5. So what we're working out is 15 take away 2 times 5. Then the multiplying has to happen before the subtracting. So we're doing 15 take away 10, which is 5. And then this last one, we need to unpick it a bit. So the first thing we have to do is the bracket. But within the bracket, we've got adding and multiplying. So within that bracket, the multiplying has to happen before the adding. So what we've got is 10 divided by, we've got 2 add, so 4 times 1 is just 4, add 4. So the value of that bracket is 10. So we've got 10 divided by 10, which is just 1. So there are more questions for you to try just now. This lesson's got quite a lot of questions for you to do because it's really important for you to practice. Okay? Now, I hope you can see that okay. If not, you might need to enlarge it a little bit on your screen. But if you've got the worksheets printed out, this one's BODMAS worksheet 2. So pause the video whilst you try these questions. If you found the first set of questions a little bit tricky or you didn't do as much as you would like to have done, then you can go back to those questions whilst others are doing these ones. And then we're going to check our answer. So here we go. I've written a little bit of working on the answers so you can check those. So remember, brackets of dividing and multiplying and then adding and subtracting. Okay, so pause that whilst you check your answers. And then let's just recap what we've learnt today. So, first of all, I understand what is meant by the word operation. Well, we looked at the different operations in maths, didn't we? That's just a mathematical thing that we do to numbers. I understand that the order of operations matters. Remember, at the start of the lesson, we looked at questions and we got lots of different answers for the same question. So it does matter what order we do our operations in. And then I know what the letters in BODMAS stand for. So brackets of, divide, multiply, add, subtract. And then I can use BODMAS to calculate correctly. And you've been doing quite a bit of practice of that. So well done. You've worked your way through quite a lot of questions today, I think. So give yourselves a big pat on the back for that. And I will see you soon.